is somewhat afraid of blow-through carburetors, so he doesn't like to do those.
Yeah, it's a little B-roll. You gotta give it a little kiss.
God darn it. Today's SMX day. So this engine right here that I showed you earlier, we are dynoing today. Kyle's just buttoning stuff up, putting the belt drive on, and this is shiny glory. Got to touch the shiny. Awesome, very good. I love this thing. We are going to anodize this black because the customer still wants to anodize the valve covers and the manifold lid black. And tubing and this elbow, but we wanted to get this thing up, done, and let's get this thing done before the PRI show. So we're one day before the PRI show. This is Wednesday. Gonna be leaving bright and early tomorrow morning. You can see this has got twin Motion Raceworks Icon throttle bodies. This is a twin 110 millimeter turbo SMX, exactly like the one that's in my wagon that made 4,200 horsepower at the hubs. See video right here, link down below. 4,200 horsepower at the hubs. Now, we're not dynoing this with turbos because we're going to have it come back in the car when he installs it. So what we want to do here, and it still takes a ton of time, but not as much time as if we're putting all the turbos and running everything on it. But we want to run it. We want to make sure no oil leaks, no water leaks, any of that kind of stuff. And lash it up. Do all those kind of things. Just make sure everything is good, mechanically sound. It's going to put it in the car, bring it back, and then we're going to hub dyno it and do the tune and boosted in the car. So after Kyle's all done with this, we'll get out there and we're going to start making some hits. Now this is naturally aspirated SMX. Naturally aspirated SMX. On methanol, and we just have it run through one set of single injectors, and I got to talk to him about that. And we're going to keep on going here. So let's dyno this thing, see what it makes. NA. But before we do that, let me show you what I'm working on. So Kyle's going to dyno this one, and Kyle is somewhat afraid of blow-through carburetors, so he doesn't like to do those.
Yeah, it's just ancient technology. It's just I can change jets and I can change the high and low speed air bleeds and stuff like that, but if it doesn't basically work right out of the box, I'm kind of screwed.
Yes, he's stumped right away. So anyways, so we're going to, I'm going to work on this one while he's working on over there. This will be in a separate video for Guy Thomas. And this is a nitrous engine conversion. And just noticing something. This is a nitrous engine conversion to put an F2 1200 horsepower-ish non-intercooled pump gas big block Chevrolet. So really nice, good piece. This one's coming up in a separate video.
All right, guys, so we're out here. I got just like a nice base tune up in it, really conservative because we're not trying to make a ton of horsepower. It'd be really nice to see like 1,000, because 1,000 NA on something that is low compression, turbo cam, 525 cubic inches, I think is really good. So we're gonna give her a shot. This first pull you guys are gonna watch is just gonna be a steady state pull, so check it out.
All right, now let's go in there, and Kyle's working on lash, because what we want to do is, all we're doing is, because we're just testing an NA, we just want to verify oil pressure, no oil leaks, no fuel, or no water leaks, because this is fully water jacketed. And we go through, check valve lash, make sure everything's looking all good before we send it into customer, who's going to put it in the car, hook it all up, big twin turbo deal, very similar to combination. Well, all SMXs are basically similar to combination. Big twin turbo deal on methanol, And then he just told me today that he wants to change style injectors, so we're going to take all these injectors out too and put the big injectors in it instead of doing the 3 Siemens Decas. So anyways, we're just lashing this up, and one thing that you might notice is, so valve train here, we're just verifying everything's good, nothing's moving, nothing's changing, everything looks the way it's supposed to. Kyle didn't put on, always need to have drains, so we scavenge oil from the back of the cylinder head through the oil pump. So oil pump sucking oil out. But there's so much oil in the top half of the engine, intentionally, I do that intentionally. Remember, this is a drag and drive deal. So there's so much oil up in here that as soon as the motor shuts off, this thing is still relatively full. And if it doesn't sit, or it's sitting perfectly level like it is here, where it doesn't have any tip in the car, one way or the other, you pop the valve cover off and it drains oil on the headers. Because Kyle didn't have the front, if you want to see these here. So these 2 lines are supposed to be hooked up down into the oil, into the block drain, because I have block drain holes here. You can see it back in there. It's a little hard to see, but right here, you see it? That's a block drain, that's a block drain. These are all crankcase drains that we can put turbos if the turbos are up high, but it always needs to have cylinder heads draining into the oil pan. And that's only in the front, since this is a drag race deal, it's only for driving and for taking the valve covers off to check valve lash. So checking lash, everything looks good. We'll go through that here real quick. And remember, let's see, well, I'll have Kyle show you how you're supposed to do lash. And since he's lashing it up right now, and he's going to build the front oil drain lines for it, and we'll make another hit.
Alright guys, so you just saw me make those couple lines. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to grab my bump button, I'm going to hook it up to the starter, and we're going to lash the valves. Okay, so lashing valves 101. When the intake valve is on its way closed, we're going to lash the exhaust. And vice versa, when the exhaust is just opening, we're going to lash the intake. So take a look here, I'll show you. Intake valve, closing. So now we're going to lash the exhaust. And the other way around. Exhaust is just starting to open. Now we're going to lash our intake. Okay, now that I've properly explained how to lash the valves, we're going to go through and check them. We're not going to go through and adjust them just in case something's off. We want to check where they're at first. So the engine's warm. I just did a little mock-up pull on it, just a baby pull. So I'm going to think they're at like 20. So pick out 20 on my feeler gauge. It's a little bit more. $24. That's right where I'd expect it to be. Check our exhaust. That's a tight 24. And when you're doing this, you're just feeling it shouldn't be stuck like you just saw me stick. Oh, even this one's a little bit tight. So that would be like tight. We'll go down like 20. Nice and loose. So it's like 20, 21. If they're off like a couple thousandths, no big deal. It could be operator error. It's on a different part of the ramp on the camshaft. So that's all good. I think we're gonna leave it alone. So now what you're gonna see is I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna check all of these. Alright, so checked all of them. Everything checks out good. So everything's like between 20 and 24, 23. So that's all good. That's within our spec. So I'm going to put this thing back together and then we're going to make a pull on it. You got to give it a little kiss.
Okay, so thing's sitting here idling. We gotta let it warm up before Kyle makes any pulls on it. But keep in mind, this is a turbo motor with no turbos. This is naturally aspirated turbo engine. It's not meant to be maximum horsepower, any of that other stuff, because it's NA built for turbos. Camshaft totally significantly different than what we would do NA. And punting a little bit right here, getting into a lean cell up there, so Kyle will fix that here in a second. And so, but still sounds, I mean, they're crisp, clean, boy, they really sound nice, so super happy with that. And unfortunately, he's not even going to use any of this tune. But we just wanted, so we are actually having to build this whole tune for the sole reason of just dynoing it to make sure that mechanically everything is all cool and right. This is why it takes a lot of time to dyno anything at EFI like this, because if it was just a carbureted engine or an EFI engine that they just dyno with a carburetor, they make it super simple. You hook up 2 lines, all done. You know, you don't even, a lot of times they don't even tune the carburetor. But EFI, we got to go through and we got to do some stuff. And she's blowing all that oil is because took the valve cover off and dumped all the oil onto the header, so it's just burning off. Take a look at numbers. Let's see it. You can see it's just burning off there. Because it hasn't been leaking until we went in there and he had the valve covers off. And that's about right. So now this, like I said again, this is because of camshaft, because of everything that's here, it's not meant to make 9,000 RPM NA. It will run 9,000 RPM boosted because we're adding air to it. So it's the camshafts are different, point blank. So that's real good. I mean, that is naturally aspirated. That is just on methanol, 950 horsepower, 7,300 RPM. It's probably, you know, done right out here. We could work on tune more and more and make it a little bit better. But we're not trying to tune for maximum horsepower. And this is still, you know, low compression because this will run on, in that mode right there, it'll run right on 91 octane fuel. We just happen to have it on methanol because we're running everything through the fuel lines, the pump, everything exactly the way that would be in the car. So that's spot on the money. So 773 foot-pounds of torque, 951 horsepower. NA SMX, pretty sweet. So I think we are I think we are done. All right. I'm Steve Morris. That is
Kyle Morris.
with his Modelo hat on. Yeah. All right. And that is Dubert Morris. Have a great day. Darn it. So, took the engine off the dyno. Everything was all cool. Everything is all cool. Except we noticed that there was, on this cylinder head that is missing, there is no O-ring around the exhaust port. On that head, forgot to put the O-ring in it. It's this O-ring right here. See these O-rings, O-ring grooves right here? Did not notice when it just put it on the dyno, put it on the dyno super quick. Kyle didn't notice that there wasn't O-rings on the other side because we put silicone on it anyways. So, unfortunately, had to take the cylinder head off. It's back in the machine. Let's go look at it or I don't know, is it back in the machine yet?
It's in the hot tank right now.
Oh, it's in the hot tank right now. Well, it's not in the machine yet. Brock's going to just put it up in the machine, cut the O-ring grooves in there so we don't have to use a header gasket or silicone on these. We can just do the O-ring. And this is actually new, so just for something, the silliest of things. So I had to take the cylinder head off to get that all done.